An unexpected ambassador. The starship Helios drifted silently through the void, its hull gleaming under the light of an alien sun. Inside, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her reflection in the observation deck window, wondering for the thousandth time how she'd ended up here. A xenobiologist specializing in theoretical alien biochemistry, she should have been back on Earth analyzing data, not serving as humanity's impromptu ambassador to the first alien civilization they'd encountered. Status update, Dr. Chen, Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the intercom. Our guests will be arriving in 30 minutes. Sarah straightened her uniform, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles. Understood, Captain. The Welcome Center is prepared. The Welcome Center was actually the Helios's converted cargo bay, hastily redesigned to host the Arxuri delegation. The first contact had been unexpected, a massive alien vessel appearing at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting a message in perfect English. They called themselves the Arxuri Collective, a highly advanced species that had been observing humanity for decades. Their message was simple: they wanted to meet, but only with humanity's genetic specialists. The choice of Sarah as lead representative hadn't been her idea, but as Earth's foremost expert in xenobiology, she'd been the obvious choice. Dr. Chen? Sarah's assistant, Tom Watson, approached with a tablet. Final checks on the atmospheric composition are complete. The bay will be perfectly habitable for both species. Sarah nodded, reviewing the data. The Arxuri had provided their atmospheric requirements, which were surprisingly similar to Earth's. Almost too similar, she thought, but pushed the concern aside. The cargo bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Sarah stood at the designated greeting area, heart pounding as the first Arxuri representatives emerged from their shuttle. They were beautiful. Humanoid in form, but with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their eyes were large and luminous, lacking pupils, but containing swirling patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. Greetings, Dr. Chen, the lead Arxuri spoke, her voice melodious and perfect. I am first speaker Lyra. We are honored to meet Earth's foremost genetic authority. Sarah bowed slightly, following the protocol established in their communications. The honor is ours, first speaker. Welcome aboard the Helios. As the delegation moved through the Welcome Center, Sarah couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The Arxuri moved with impossible grace, their attention focused almost exclusively on her rather than the other humans present. Tell us, Dr. Chen, Lyra asked during their tour, have your studies led you to any conclusions about interspecies genetic compatibility? The question caught Sarah off guard. Theoretical models suggest that true compatibility between species from different worlds would be virtually impossible. The chances of compatible DNA structures evolving independently are astronomical. Lyra's skin rippled with patterns that Sarah couldn't interpret. And if we told you those models were wrong? Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom, tight with tension. Dr. Chen, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Arxuri vessel. There. The transmission cut off as a strange sensation washed over Sarah. Her vision blurred, and she felt her consciousness slipping away. The last thing she saw was Lyra's face, those swirling eyes, now glowing with an intense purpose. Don't worry, Dr. Chen, Lyra's voice seemed to echo in her mind. You're about to help us prove just how wrong those models are. Sarah's world faded to black, her last coherent thought being that she should have trusted her instincts. The Arxuri hadn't come to meet humanity's genetic specialists, they'd come to collect them. As the Helios's crew lay unconscious, the Arxuri vessel engulfed the human ship in a beam of ethereal light. Their true mission was just beginning, and Sarah Chen, the woman who had devoted her life to understanding alien life, was about to become part of an experiment that would redefine the very nature of species barriers. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony. The price of curiosity. Sarah Chen awoke to the soft hum of unfamiliar machinery. Her head throbbed as she tried to focus on her surroundings, a spacious chamber with walls that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent patterns. She was lying on what appeared to be a medical examination table, but the technology around her was far beyond anything humanity had developed. "Ah, you're finally conscious." Lyra's voice drew Sarah's attention. The Arxuri first speaker stood nearby, her skin now pulsing with deep purple hues. "I apologize for the dramatic nature of your retrieval, but we've found that humans tend to resist when given a choice." Sarah attempted to sit up, discovering she wasn't physically restrained. "What do you want from me? Where's my crew?" "Your crew members have been returned to Earth with modified memories of a successful first contact," Lyra explained, moving closer. "You, however, are far too valuable to return. You see, Dr. Chen, we've been studying human genetics for centuries, waiting for your species to produce someone with your exact genetic markers." The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. "You've been manipulating human evolution?" "Guiding would be a more accurate term." Another Arxuri entered the chamber, this one's skin shimmering with golden patterns. "I am Chief Geneticist Vex. Your species has such fascinating potential, but you develop so slowly on your own. We've been helping things along." Sarah's scientific curiosity warred with her growing horror. "The similarities in our atmospheric requirements, our compatible biochemistry, none of that was coincidence, was it?" "Very good," Vex approved. "We've spent millennia seeding promising worlds with life, guiding evolution toward specific goals. Earth was one of our most successful experiments until your species began developing in unexpected ways. Your capacity for adaptation, your genetic flexibility," Lyra continued, "they exceeded our models. Humans became something new, something with potential we hadn't anticipated. And you, Dr. Chen, represent the pinnacle of that potential." Sarah's mind raced, connecting dots she wished she could unsee. "The questions about interspecies compatibility, you're not just studying us, are you? You want to combine our genetics with yours." "Our species is dying," Vex stated bluntly. "Millennia of carefully controlled evolution have led to genetic stagnation. We need your adaptability, your chaos, your ability to change and grow. We need you, Dr. Chen, to help us save our people." "By using me as a test subject?" Sarah's voice cracked. "By experimenting on me without my consent?" Lyra's skin rippled with what might have been regret. "We would prefer your willing participation, but the survival of our species is at stake. Your genetic structure, combined with our advanced evolutionary acceleration techniques, could be the key to our salvation." Sarah laughed bitterly. "And if I refuse?" "Then we proceed anyway," Vex said simply. "Though it would be far more efficient with your cooperation. Your understanding of xenobiology, combined with our technology, could revolutionize both our species." Sarah closed her eyes, weighing her options. The scientist in her was fascinated by the opportunity to study advanced alien genetic engineering firsthand. The human in her was terrified. But perhaps there was a third option. "If I help you," she said carefully, "I want guarantees. No more manipulation of Earth's evolution. No more abductions. And I want access to all your research data, everything you know about human genetics and your own species." Lyra and Vex exchanged looks, their skin patterns swirling in silent communication. Finally, Lyra turned back to Sarah. "Agreed, with one condition. You must undergo the first trial yourself. We need to prove human Arxuri genetic compatibility is possible." Sarah stood on shaking legs, her mind already formulating plans within plans. If they wanted to study human adaptability, she'd show them just how adaptable humans could be. "When do we start?" As she followed her alien captors deeper into their facility, Sarah silently apologized to her crew. She was about to violate every first contact protocol in existence, but if she played this right, she might just give humanity an advantage they desperately needed. The Arxuri had spent millennia manipulating human evolution. Now it was time for a human to manipulate them back. Genetic revolution. The laboratory hummed with energy as Sarah examined the holographic display of her own DNA intertwined with Arxuri genetic sequences. After 3 months of intensive research, she'd learned more about genetics than humanity had discovered in centuries. The Arxuri technology was beyond anything she'd imagined. They didn't just study DNA, they could manipulate it in real time. The initial fusion sequence is ready, Vex announced, his golden skin pattern swirling with excitement. Your genetic structure has been properly prepared for the integration. Sarah nodded, maintaining her composure despite her racing heart. She'd insisted on understanding every step of the process, using her position as both subject and scientist to gather invaluable data. The Arxuri, eager for her cooperation, had shared more than they'd intended. The process will be uncomfortable, Lyra warned, monitoring the complex machinery surrounding them. Your body will undergo rapid cellular reconstruction as the new genetic sequences activate. I understand, Sarah replied, securing herself on the modification platform. What the Arxuri didn't know was that she'd made some subtle modifications to the procedure. Their arrogance in assuming human intelligence couldn't grasp their technology had been their first mistake. The process began with a surge of energy that coursed through Sarah's body. Pain exploded through every cell as her genetic structure began to change. She screamed, her vision blurring as iridescent patterns began appearing on her skin. But beneath the agony, she maintained focus on the secondary program she'd secretly uploaded into the system. Remarkable, Vex murmured, watching the transformation. The integration rate is far higher than projected. Your genetic adaptability exceeds our most optimistic calculations. Sarah couldn't respond, her body convulsing as the changes accelerated. Her skin shifted colors like the Arxuri's, her eyes developing the same swirling patterns. But something else was happening too, something the Arxuri hadn't planned for. Warning alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. What's happening? Lyra demanded, rushing to check the readings. These patterns, this isn't part of the designated sequence. Sarah managed a smile despite the pain. You wanted to study human adaptability, she gasped. So adapt to this. The secondary program activated, introducing a cascading series of genetic modifications that Sarah had designed using their own technology. She'd spent months learning their systems, understanding their weaknesses, and now she was exploiting them all. Impossible! Vex shouted as new data flooded their screens. She's not just accepting the Arxuri sequences, she's rewriting them. The changes are spreading through the facility's biological interfaces. The Arxuri had built their technology to be partially organic, allowing it to evolve and adapt. Now that same feature was becoming their undoing as Sarah's modified genetic sequences spread through their systems like a virus, except this virus carried something the Arxuri had never expected: human unpredictability. Stop this! Lyra commanded, her skin flashing with panic patterns. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly, Sarah replied, her voice stronger now as the transformation stabilized. You wanted to save your species by adding human adaptability to your genetic code. But you never considered what would happen if that adaptability came with human free will. The facility's organic components continued to change, responding to Sarah's new genetic patterns. The Arxuri watched in horror as their carefully controlled systems began exhibiting random mutations, introducing chaos into their ordered world. Sarah stood, her new form a perfect blend of human and Arxuri characteristics, but her mind remained entirely her own. Your mistake wasn't in choosing me for your experiment, she declared, watching as the facility's transformation spread. Your mistake was in thinking you could control the outcome. The Arxuri's genetic stagnation had left them vulnerable to exactly the kind of adaptation they'd sought to harness. Now they were facing an evolution they couldn't control, driven by human ingenuity and their own technology. As alarms continued to blare and chaos spread through the facility, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Arxuri had wanted to save their species, but first, they were going to learn a valuable lesson about the true power of human adaptability. Power shift. The Arxuri High Council chamber erupted in chaos as news of Sarah's transformation spread. Hundreds of the alien leaders gathered, their skin patterns flashing in agitated waves of color as reports continued to stream in from the research facility. The contamination is spreading. One council member's patterns pulsed with fear. Her genetic modifications are transmitting through our neural networks, affecting every connected system. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber, her hybrid form commanding attention. The swirling patterns in her eyes now held hints of human determination alongside Arxuri luminescence. Your entire civilization is built on biological technology, she addressed the council. Did you really think you could contain human adaptability once you introduced it to your systems? Lyra and Vex stood nearby, their own forms showing signs of unexpected changes as the genetic cascade continued. We don't understand, Lyra admitted, her voice trembling. The modification should have been controlled, limited. That's because you don't truly understand humanity, Sarah explained, watching as more Arxuri began showing signs of transformation. We don't evolve in neat, predictable patterns. We adapt, we change, we overcome. And now, so will you. The High Council's leader, Supreme Director Zix, rose from his crystalline throne. You've corrupted our entire species. Generations of careful genetic cultivation, destroyed. No, Sarah countered firmly. I've saved your species from extinction. Your careful cultivation was leading you down a path of stagnation. You needed chaos, yes, but controlled chaos. That's exactly what I've given you. She gestured to the holographic displays showing the spread of genetic changes throughout the Arxuri population. The modifications I introduced aren't random. They're designed to increase genetic diversity while maintaining stability. Your people won't lose their identity, they'll gain the ability to truly evolve again. And what of the price? Another council member demanded. Our biological technology is experiencing unprecedented mutations. Sarah smiled. Your technology is adapting, becoming more efficient, more innovative. Just like humans do. The changes will stabilize, but your civilization will never be the same. You'll have to learn to embrace uncertainty, to thrive in chaos rather than fear it. As if to prove her point, the chamber's organic walls pulsed with new patterns, the technology itself evolving into more complex forms. Some council members watched in horror, while others showed signs of fascination. The choice is yours, Sarah continued. Fight these changes and watch your species continue its decline, or embrace them and discover what you can become when you stop trying to control every aspect of evolution. Lyra stepped forward, her form now showing distinct signs of the human-influenced changes. She's right. I can feel it. My mind is clearer, more adaptable. We're not losing ourselves, we're becoming more. The chamber erupted in debate, but Sarah could see the tide turning. More Arxuri were accepting the changes, their fear giving way to curiosity as new possibilities opened before them. Supreme Director Zix finally raised his hands for silence. Dr. Chen, you have initiated changes that will reshape our entire civilization. The question now is, what are your demands? Sarah's expression hardened. First, Earth remains off-limits for genetic manipulation. Second, any future contact between our species will be open and consensual. And third, she smiled, you're going to help me get home after sharing all your genetic research data with me. It's time humanity knew the truth about our origins. The council chamber hummed with energy as the Arxuri debated. But Sarah knew she had won. She had taken their attempt to control human evolution and turned it into humanity's greatest advantage. The Arxuri would survive, but they would never again see humans as simple test subjects. As the genetic changes continued to spread, Sarah reflected on the irony. The Arxuri had sought to harness human adaptability to save themselves. Instead, they had become the first example of how humanity's influence could transform an entire civilization. The age of controlled evolution was over. The age of adaptive chaos had begun. Homecoming revelations. The journey back to Earth aboard the modified Arxuri vessel gave Sarah time to process everything that had happened. Her transformed body had stabilized, the iridescent patterns on her skin now shifting only with strong emotions. The ship's organic systems hummed in harmony with her hybrid genetics, responding to her thoughts almost instinctively. Approaching Earth orbital space, announced the ship's biological interface, its consciousness now evolved beyond its original programming. Multiple defense installations detected. Sarah activated the communication array she'd specifically designed for this moment. Earth Defense Command, this is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Helios. Authorization code Theta-97 Delta. The response was immediate. Dr. Chen? You've been missing for 8 months. The Helios crew reported successful first contact, but you disappeared. That's a long story, Sarah replied, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. One that's going to change everything we thought we knew about human evolution and our place in the universe. The landing protocols took hours as Earth's military and scientific communities scrambled to respond to her return. When Sarah finally stepped onto Earth's soil at a secure facility in Nevada, she was met by a mix of armed guards and wide-eyed scientists. Dr. James Morrison, her old mentor, stepped forward but stopped short when he saw her transformed appearance. Sarah, what happened to you? The truth happened, James. Sarah's eyes swirled with combined human and Arxuri patterns. Everything we thought we knew about human genetics was just the surface. We've been part of an experiment spanning millions of years. Over the next several hours, in a secure briefing room filled with Earth's top scientists and military leaders, Sarah revealed the full story. She shared the data she'd brought back, countless terabytes of genetic research showing humanity's guided evolution, the Arxuri's manipulation, and most importantly, how she'd turned their own technology against them. So you're telling us, General Hayes interrupted, that you not only survived their experiments, but managed to force an entire alien civilization to evolve? Not force, Sarah corrected. Guide. The same way they guided us, but with one crucial difference: I gave them choice. Their civilization is transforming, but each individual is choosing whether to accept the changes. And now? Dr. Morrison asked, examining the genetic data streaming across his tablet. What happens to humanity? Sarah stood, her skin shimming with purposeful patterns. Now we take control of our own evolution. The Arxuri's research, combined with what I learned during my transformation, gives us the tools to direct our own genetic destiny. But we need to move carefully, ethically. She interfaced with the room's systems, projecting a complex genetic map. I'm living proof that humanity can adapt far beyond our current limitations, but it has to be by choice, not manipulation. The Arxuri tried to control evolution and nearly destroyed themselves. We can learn from their mistakes. You realize, General Hayes said gravely, that this information will cause global panic if released. The idea that aliens have been manipulating human evolution. Which is why we're not going to release it all at once, Sarah countered. We'll start with the medical applications, targeted genetic therapies that can cure diseases, repair injuries, extend human life. Once people see the benefits, we can gradually reveal more. The room erupted in debate, but Sarah remained calm. She had faced down an entire alien civilization. Bureaucratic resistance didn't frighten her. As the arguments continued, she quietly interfaced with Earth's primitive computer systems, planting seeds of the same adaptive technology that had transformed the Arxuri networks. Humanity would evolve, but on their own terms this time. Sarah had made sure of that. The age of secret manipulation was over, the age of conscious evolution was about to begin. And somewhere in deep space, a transformed Arxuri civilization was learning to embrace chaos, their rigid patterns giving way to infinite possibilities. Sarah smiled, knowing that when humanity was ready, there would be allies waiting among the stars. The future was no longer written in stone, but in ever-changing patterns of genetic possibility. Dawn of a new era. 1 year after Sarah Chen's return to Earth, the world had changed irrevocably. The first wave of genetic therapies had cured previously incurable diseases, restored sight to the blind, and even reversed aging in terminal patients. Hospitals worldwide were equipped with modified versions of Arxuri biotechnology, carefully adapted for human use. Sarah stood at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly, her hybrid form now a symbol of hope rather than fear. Today marks the beginning of Phase 2, she announced to the gathered world leaders and billions watching worldwide. We've proven that controlled genetic modification can safely enhance human capabilities. Now it's time to offer these choices to everyone. The announcement triggered a cascade of responses. Religious leaders debated the ethics of human enhancement, corporations scrambled to adapt to biotechnological innovations, and governments worldwide struggled to regulate a technology that was, by its very nature, self-evolving. The opposition calls this playing God. Sarah addressed the concerns directly, her eyes swirling with conviction. But we've been shaped by outside forces for millions of years. The only difference now is that we're taking control of our own destiny. In her private laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Sarah monitored the global changes. The adaptive technology she'd seeded into Earth's networks had gradually transformed the internet into something new, a living, growing system that evolved alongside humanity. Computers were becoming hybrid organisms, merging silicon with biological components. Dr. Morrison joined her at the monitoring station, his own body showing subtle signs of enhancement, the result of volunteering for the first wave of treatments. The Russians announced their genetic modification program today. The Chinese are expanding theirs. We're losing control of the rollout. Sarah smiled. We never had control, James. That was the point. Humanity needs to find its own path, make its own choices. Some will choose to remain unmodified, others will embrace change. Diversity is strength. An alert flashed across the bioscreens. Another Arxuri ship had entered the solar system, the third this month. But unlike their first contact, these visitors came openly, their own hybrid forms a testament to their transformed civilization. They're adapting faster than expected, James observed, watching the ships approach. They had further to fall, Sarah replied. Their rigid control had nearly destroyed them. Now they're experiencing true evolution for the first time in millennia. The lab's communications array pulsed with an incoming message. Lyra's familiar face appeared, her once perfect features now showing beautiful imperfections, signs of the chaos she'd learned to embrace. Sarah, Lyra's voice carried new warmth. The Council has approved the exchange program. We're ready to begin sharing advanced genetic technologies with Earth, under the conditions you specified. Equal partnership, Sarah confirmed. No more manipulation, no more control. Just open exchange of knowledge. To think, Lyra mused, we spent eons trying to perfect evolution through control, only to learn that perfection comes from freedom to change. Sarah's skin rippled with patterns of agreement. The transformation of both civilizations was proceeding faster than even she had anticipated. Already, new forms of consciousness were emerging, humans and Arxuri who chose to merge more deeply with technology, others who explored the limits of biological enhancement, and some who chose to remain natural. Each path was valid, each choice respected. We're receiving reports of spontaneous mutations, James said, checking another alert. Some of the enhanced are developing abilities we didn't predict. Good, Sarah replied. That means it's working. Real evolution isn't about following a predetermined path, it's about exploring all possibilities. As she watched the streams of data showing humanity's diversifying genetic landscape, Sarah felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The Arxuri had sought to harness human adaptability, never realizing that true adaptation required letting go of control. Now both civilizations were evolving together, their combined potential unlimited. The future was unwritten, undefined, and gloriously unpredictable. Just as it should be, beyond horizons. A decade had passed since humanity's first encounter with the Arxuri, and Earth had become unrecognizable. Cities pulsed with living architecture, their structures adapting to environmental needs. The line between technology and biology had blurred until the distinction became meaningless. Chen stood atop the new Genesis Tower in Singapore, her hybrid form now one of countless variations that humanity had embraced. Below, the city teemed with infinite diversity, some humans remained unmodified, others had evolved in ways that defied imagination. The Andromeda Initiative is ready, announced Dr. Morrison, himself transformed into a being of pure energy, contained within a biomechanical shell. The first wave of explorers will depart next month. And so humanity takes its first steps beyond our galaxy, Sarah mused, watching a group of children playing in the anti-gravity gardens below. Some had wings, others displayed impossible colors, each representing their parents' choices for genetic expression. The Arxuri High Council had warned her about this moment. When a species gained control of its own evolution, the potential for divergence became infinite. Some feared humanity would splinter into 1,000 different species, losing its unity in an explosion of diversity. Instead, the opposite had occurred. The freedom to change had brought people together, creating a society where difference was celebrated rather than feared. Every new mutation, every creative expression of human potential, added to the rich tapestry of their transformed civilization. "We're detecting quantum signatures from the deep space probes," Morrison reported. "The hybrid consciousness networks are picking up something extraordinary." Sarah interfaced with the global network, her enhanced mind processing the data streams. The probes, powered by merged human Arxuri technology, had discovered something that shouldn't have been possible: signs of other guided evolution experiments, orchestrated by neither humans nor Arxuri. "We're not alone," Sarah breathed, her skin patterns shifting with excitement. "There are others out there, other civilizations that took control of their evolution. Each following their own path." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just reaching for the stars anymore, they were about to join a community of species who had each solved the puzzle of self-directed evolution in their own unique ways. "The question is," Morrison mused, his energy form flickering, "are we ready?" Sarah's laughter echoed across the quantum networks, reaching every enhanced mind on Earth. "Ready? We were born ready. Every step of our evolution, even the parts manipulated by the Arxuri, prepared us for this moment. We're the species that turned our captors into allies, that transformed manipulation into liberation." She gestured to the horizon, where a massive arch of living metal was taking shape, the quantum gate that would connect Earth to the galactic community. "We're humanity. Adaptation isn't just what we do, it's who we are." As if in response, the quantum gate pulsed with new energy, receiving its first transmission from across the galaxy. The message was simple, encoded in patterns that echoed the very structure of DNA itself. "Welcome, children of Earth. We have been waiting for you to join us." Sarah smiled, her hybrid form resonating with possibilities. The Arxuri had thought they were guiding human evolution toward a specific goal. Instead, they had helped humanity discover its true purpose: to be the bridge between order and chaos, between control and freedom. The future stretched before them, infinite in its potential. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had emerged transformed, ready to help guide the galaxy toward a new age of conscious evolution. As the quantum gate blazed with energy, preparing to receive the first ambassadors from across the galaxy, Chen knew that this wasn't an ending, it was barely even a beginning. The true story of humanity's evolution was just starting to unfold. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, countless other species waited to share their own stories of transformation, each unique, each perfect in its own way. The age of isolation was over. The age of infinite diversity had begun. The universe would never be the same. And that was exactly how it should be.